Hello everyone, Gigs here once again on the MineSaga server, the Western realm. We're sitting on top of my cactus farm, which is way up here. You can see for the fact that I'm a little bit closer to my spawner and the altar up there that I have built it up a little bit. So what I have been doing to build it up is, number one, I did most of this freehand without schematica because I was just having issues with ghost blocks and it not working, and just trying to get it to do anything was a nightmare. So I played around with the settings a little bit, I played around with the layers that I was doing a little bit, and I think I may have gotten it a little bit better. So let's have a look here. So what I was doing, and you can see this layer, flying, promise I haven't been drinking. So here I'm doing 4 layers. What I was doing before was that I was actually doing the layer below, and I think what was happening is that when the cactus would grow up one, as I was doing a layer, it would confuse the printer, and essentially it would mean that I was not placing blocks in the right place, and I would end up with ghost blocks or ghost placement, and it was just ending up in a mess. And what that mess would then do would compound itself layer after layer after layer. So I think I've got it right. Part of this is also my ping. I have not so great ping to the server, so that little bit of delay with me doing the printing and the server responding to me means that I'm placing blocks multiple times when the server's trying to catch up. So it's not as a combination, it's really not a good combination. But what someone did suggest yesterday, and I think it was Gamepedia, was that if you do this in F5, it seems to improve the way that you print a little bit. So essentially what I have done is I have saved, so that little pinky line that you can see there, I hope you can see that little box, is the zone of my schematic. So what I'm essentially going to do is, so there's 3 main buttons that I utilize for the schematic. So one is, and these are on the number pad on my keyboard, so one is the backslash, and the backslash allows me to choose which schematic I want to use. I've got a few there that I've used on other servers and bits and pieces, and I also save some of my work to here. So for example, I did some work for Halloween on a server, and I saved all the little builds that I did, so that I would have them to use for next Halloween. I've also tried out a few different cactus farm designs, and these ones here are the ones that I've been doing just to try and get this one to work. So the one I'm currently using is version 5 is where I'm up to, but I have little bits and different pieces that I've been saving as schematics, some of my own buildings. So I don't need to grab one of those. The other one is the star key, or the asterisk key, and that essentially allows me to save a schematic. So I can set the 2 zones, I suppose, or the 2 corners, and I can save it, and basically the schematic program will save it as a schematic, so that I can then take that and I can reuse that schematic, which is fantastic. And then the last one is the actual printer side of things. So you'll see that that's currently sitting in there. It tells me where the schematic's currently sitting. I can flip it around, I can rotate it, I can move it up. I'll go 2 ups. Why have I not got it down? But I can hide it, or show it, I can unload it and things like that. So essentially what I do is I want this to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and when I escape out of that, you'll see that what that has done, it has created a, I suppose, oh, sorry, I've got printer on, let me just take that off while I do this. So essentially, it creates like a ghost of your build. So you can see I can fly through this. If I go down to the next layer where it's actual blocks, I can't. So there are colours in this. So if I see a red block, it usually means it's been placed in the wrong place, or it's not the right block that should be occupying that space. So, but as long as it's looking like that's a placed block, as long as it's looking like that, that's perfectly fine. The bluish colour, so you see the light bluish sort of glow down there, indicates there is no block there and it's wanting a block. You can also go into, when you go into here, into materials, and it will tell you how much materials you need in order to complete this task. So in order for me to do this, so the reason it's got 4 and 3 there is because it placed 3 sand and 4 string. But for each of those I need 248, 256, 256. I'm a little bit worried about that 248 and whether or not that means that I have some missing cactus in the middle of it. But I'm not going to stress about that right now. It's 8, and in the scheme of things it's not a huge issue, but it is something to watch out for. So what I'm essentially going to do is print this away, and in order to do that I just need to go here and I just need to click on the printer and then move close, and it will start automatically placing blocks for me. Now a key thing to keep in mind, especially when you're doing this on a server like this where you are needing to go into the shop and purchase items. So at the moment I have some bits and pieces in here. Hopefully that's enough to complete this whole layer. Maybe we'll have a look, we'll soon find out. But if I wanted to go into shop, I wouldn't want to be doing that over near my build, because as I was trying to buy things, every time they hit my inventory, the printer would start kicking and want to place the blocks. So you've kind of got to be careful with that. I'm just going to get rid of these envoys. Envoys toggle. Ta-da. So you do need to sort of be wary of that. The other option is, before you go into shop, is just to turn printer off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn printer on, and I'm going to pop into F5 mode. Now this is a little bit awkward to place with, because for me personally, I do struggle to control my character when I'm in this. Like, my sense of space just doesn't seem to quite get there. But you can see how it is quickly placing the blocks. And I'm really not having to touch any buttons. All I'm doing is moving my character around, and it's automatically printing or placing the blocks for me. So now my problem here with this has been so far that I seem to get, and this may be a result of those cactuses missing, is I have been getting it not printing easily, although this time it seems to be doing quite well. Again, you can see the one behind me is not there. Every so often I seem to need to go down into this area here in order to make sure that it is placing blocks down below. Now you can tell when you've printed all the blocks around you that it can print, because it will just stop placing blocks. You see there it seems to have, oopsie daisy. No, now it's done it. So sometimes it takes a little while for it to get all the blocks, and it can't do the one below me because I'm sitting in it. So it seems to be doing a relatively good job. See, it's placing around. You'll see it places blocks in and out of your inventory as well as it goes along, which is quite good. And you can definitely see the difference between the placed areas and the non-placed areas. So it definitely seems to struggle if I just sit up here and try and do it from up high. It's like it's struggling to reach down. Now I could make this smaller and I could do it as a 2 row, and that might be something that I try out to see whether it works, but then I would need 2 versions of it. And the reason I would need 2 versions is because if you have a look at the layers, you've got this row here which places the cactus in this spot, and then this row here which places the cactus one over so that it's sitting on top of each other. So you couldn't, for example, just have this, well, I suppose it's not 1 row, but it's 1 row of cactus, so the sand and cactus I'm counting. If I just did that row, if I go up to the next one to do it, it will be placing it on top of each other, which it won't work. If I move it over by 1, so if I just did 1 row of schematic and then moved it over 1, what would happen is that you would end up with overhang. So it wouldn't completely cover, it wouldn't completely cover it on one of the sides, and then on the other side it would be overhanging. So that wouldn't quite work. But we can see here that this seems to be working. We might be onto something now. Now, if you are a super fast block placer, you may find that schematic actually doesn't help you at all. Now, I'm trying to move forward there and I seem to be stuck, so I don't know whether or not that is a ghost block or just that I was stuck. Now, sometimes I sit here and it sounds like it's trying to place blocks, and that might be because I'm out of cactus or I'm out of string or something, and so it just keeps getting stuck. So I do need to watch my inventory levels when I'm doing this. The amount of times I've sat there for a couple of minutes going, why aren't you stopping? And it's really been because of that. The design I used last season was not as compact as this. It didn't have the cactus sitting on top of each other like it is here. That was much easier and quicker to use. I didn't have any issues with ghost blocks and things like that. I mean, I definitely seem to be having an issue with this piece here. Oh no, there you go, now it's gone. But this one here will give me more money for my chunk, basically. So the other one was probably giving me only 1/3 of the money that I would be making off this current chunk because of how uncompact it was. Oops. Sorry about that. Told you I was no good at driving this thing when it's an F5. Oops, and again. So this seems to be working a lot better than when I was not doing it in F5, for sure. And I think that is also working better now that I don't have cactus as the last row that I'm doing. So putting the sand here first and not allowing the cactus to be able to grow seems to be doing the trick, which is handy dandy. Now, I am sure people with better ping probably find that this works even faster for them because they're not multi-placing blocks, and I definitely feel like I'm multi-placing blocks here. But that is essentially it. So it is completed those. I haven't had to do much. I'm just basically walking around and allowing it to place them for me, and it doesn't look like I have any missing blocks. It looks perfectly fine. I wanted to double check and I wanted to remove, I can't see any reds there. I can hide it or unload it, and from what I can see, it looks like there's all cactus in there. All the sand is placed. Doesn't look like there's any gaps from the outside, so this seems to be a pretty nifty way of doing it, and definitely seems to be giving me less issues than what I was having before. So that will mean that I can do this super quick, and I will be able to fill this up to the entire chunk, which should be good. I know that this is about the 150 mark, so I'm getting pretty close to Well, I will be halfway up the chunk with that lot, and so I just need to complete the rest, and I think using the schematic will definitely help me with that. So that was all I was going to show you today. Oops. Definitely having problems with F5. Definitely. So if you're looking at why Giggling Buffalo there has big name tags and a big health bar there, that is a mod I have on Forge. It just enables me to be able to see the health of animals and bits and pieces, because I'm bad at killing my animals. So this just lets me see on my other server what the health of my animals is, and that way I can heal them before they die, which is a bad thing. But thank you for joining me on this view of the schematic birds, and I hope you have a great day.